A man who lacks purpose seeks pleasure. So when we talk about the just leaky, I call it leaky energy. When you're just leaking your energy all over the place, it's because in our society, we have been told that when you are connected or when you're intimate with somebody, and when you have sort of an energy or an electric charge between that person, that means I should be with this. All of the women had the same complaints about men. And what I learned very quickly was that everybody wanted the same thing, but nobody knew how to get. The biggest misunderstanding about suicide or suicide ideations is it's not about wanting to die, it's about not wanting to. You can tear down walls, but really set and reinforce healthy boundaries. You can be vulnerable and authentic anywhere.
This is Lunatics Legends podcast. Tonight we have Mel June in. She is an executive teacher, a cancer survivor. She started a nonprofit. Mel, you're an author as well.
I am.
Mel, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I started my nonprofit Live Anyway right after I finished going through chemo as a way to support women going through diagnosis. And what I quickly realized was it wasn't really about navigating through cancer. Although my book helps support women that are navigating through cancer, it was really the rebuilding after. And that post-pivot, catastrophe, post-tragedy, that's the rebuild, that reinvention, that's what it's really all about. So it's creating resources, environments, connections, whatever it is that you need in order to grow into the next version of yourself.
And this is very much a podcast that's centered towards helping men that might be struggling. And that was immediately what appealed to me about you is when we met, you were talking about all the work that you do with men. What led you to working with men?
It's so crazy, that whole process. So I worked almost exclusively with women when I first went out on my own as a consultant. And what I learned in that process was that there were a lot of women that wanted to work in small groups and a lot of men that wanted to work one-on-one that were really struggling privately. So what I was working on was confidence, empowerment. I was focusing on, emotional acuity, emotional agility. And all of the women had the same complaints about men. And what I learned very quickly was that everybody wanted the same thing, but nobody knew how to get there. And so it started with just literally my neighbor who came by my house and asked me what I do in my Airstream, because I host my one-on-one sessions in my Airstream in my front yard that I inherited from a shaman that lived with me for a while. And he was like, so what do you do in the Airstream? And I told him about my sessions, and he said, I'd love to do a session. It's like, okay, amazing. So he came out the next Saturday and we did a 10-hour session. And we went hiking. I taught him meditation. I taught him breath work. He walked me through, he was going through a divorce, although really resisting the divorce. He had divorce papers in his bag for almost 3.5 years and hanging on to this marriage because he just was the last little bit of control that he had. So we started working through what his blocks were. I did what I call a soul strategy. Soul strategy is where it's really a probe, where I take your birth chart, your numerology, your life path, your human design, and any other personality tests that you've taken. And I put it together in this pattern mapping and help you connect to your eros and what your passion comes from, and just gives a little clarity on what it is that we're missing and what's making us feel unfulfilled. And as I worked with him on this, I learned that the problems that he was facing was so different, yet so similar to the women. The women were looking for empowerment, right? But he was looking for purpose. He was looking for emotional depth. He was looking to be seen, to be heard, to be loved, and not have to perform. He felt like he got taken advantage of. He was resentful in his divorce because he felt like he'd provided all this stuff, this life. He'd done everything right. And it made no sense to him that he was losing everything that he wanted. And so we worked through the same curriculum that I was doing with the women, I did with him. And I just found like an immense level of, the breakthrough. We worked together every other week for 10-hour sessions for 6 months. And I started seeing one breakthrough after another, where his divorce is now final. Projects at work was flying. He was getting new partnerships. He was navigating his relationship with a couple of his partners on some projects in a totally different way. It's like he had moved past what was making him stuck in his marriage, was also making him stuck in his business, was also disconnecting him from his relationship with his kids. And so I was seeing in real time what was happening. And it was, men activate so differently than women. It's so out loud. Women take a really long time and the changes are internal. Men, when they activate, it's like go time. It's like it clicks and they go.
Yeah.
And I found it to be so powerful. Then he referred me to somebody else. And then as I was experiencing these one-on-one sessions with men, something shifted in me. I've been taking Tantra classes for a couple of years. I've been really diving deep into philosophy and psychology, and it really, being around these men and helping them navigate through these experiences helped me really grow a level of compassion even for my ex-husband, for my experiences with my dad. It really healed a part of me in such a powerful way. And I learned that men and women want the same thing. They just don't know how to communicate it. And we're stuck in this performance. And the performance is what keeps us from actually experiencing the level of intimacy that we're really desperate for. And so we think intimacy is going out on date nights. We think intimacy is, sharing a dream. But it's like the intimacy is showing up not okay. The intimacy is being able to sit with a partner or with a person when they're lost, when they're confused, when they don't have all the answers. The intimacy is not having to solve their problems. The intimacy is just, it's this level and this depth of connection. So the way that we go to experience it is just different. And so, what I also learned with women is that they want to do these things in small groups. They want to have a sisterhood in community, whereas men want to work one-on-one. So the way that I work with women and the way that I work with men is very different. Because in our society, we have been told that when you are connected or when you're intimate with somebody, and when you have sort of an energy or an electric charge between that person, that means I should be with this person.
The ability of delineating between oh my gosh, she's given me, because I have a personal story with that as well, about a coach who was a female that helped me sort through a lot of things. And there was this underlying, and I was like, I just figured out who the fuck I am. Why would I want to fuck up what I have with you to try out hanging? No. I need to work on me for a minute and kind of just fucking breathe for a second before I go taking on something romantic. But
yeah, I mean, a lot of what I've learned has just been through my own survival. Going through treatment myself and going through a massive depression after my divorce, after I was done going through chemo, and having suicidal ideations myself until I finally took a bunch of pills, hid my kids for myself, locked myself in my bed, and was like, I will stay in this bed until I want to live.
Yeah.
Because I think that the biggest misunderstanding about suicide or suicide ideations is it's not about wanting to die, it's about not wanting to live. Because living feels so hard.
I feel like we keep dropping gems that
so many
we need to get
I'll
to
clip
the
them out.
podcast.
That's cool.
Perfect.
It's not my first rodeo.
There you
I'll
go.
get flipped in, yeah.
I'm going to go grab my LS ring because I don't like doing anything without it. I'll be right back and then we shall get
It's
started.
this ring. We were in we both did a series of personal development programs with one particular company, and they're large commitments, time-wise and financially. So the people that are there are they're with purpose. It's not by accident. It's not kind of, I guess I'll try it out. It's not, everyone is there intentionally. And they give you a reminder when you're completed the program. They give you a reminder as, hey, this is kind of somewhat of a fidget spinner, really.
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh,
okay,
good.
this is what's going on. Like,
love
I can
that.
feel it on my finger. If I'm working on me today, I'll turn it around and face it towards me. If I'm focused on how I'm connecting with other people, I'll turn it out so that it's,
Outward focused,
It's an
inward
anchor.
focused.
Sure.
Anchor is amazing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And every morning when I put it on, I have to decide if I'm outward focused or if I need to work on myself. Like,
Yeah. What the
I
walk
quit
is. where-
drinking almost 3.5 years ago. I went to one of my mentors' house and I had never been drunk on wine before. And apparently you're not supposed to drink 3 bottles.
You're not.
My B-dog.
Turns out.
It just tasted really good. And
Often does.
I ended up coming home and I realized that I left my pistol in my buddy's truck.
Oh.
And I called him and was like, yo, you need to come back here and bring me back my pistol. I go out front and I'm waiting for him to show up. And apparently I'd fallen over. I don't remember any of this. So when he pulls up, I'm laying in front of, I used to have an FJ Cruiser like in my driveway. And he literally like had to pick me up, walks me back to my room. I wake up the next morning and I could not find my ring. And I'm laying there depressed and regretful and all of these things and embarrassed and all those things that you get after
That's the
blacking
worst
out.
feeling.
Yeah. And I just go, God, if you give me back my LS ring, I'm done drinking. And immediately I get told, look underneath your bed. I look underneath my bed and it's laying there staring back at me just like this. And I was like, heard,
Your turn.
got it. And to me, what this ring represents is being the man that I want to be. And that shit is not the man that I want to be. It wasn't serving me anymore. I'm done. Cold fucking turkey. I've been into the Dominican Republic, all inclusive. I've been on cruises, all the fucking ability to drink. I have
It's alcohol here.
20 something bottles here.
There's beer in the fridge. I know.
I bought it
funny.
for him. I just don't drink anymore. It's not my thing. And it's all because, well, there's a big part of it to do with this ring. And so for me, this is absolutely like, if I'm doing good things and I go like this, I want somebody to see this ring and go, what's he doing? You know, I'm representing a whole ass brotherhood of 5,000 plus men, something
I
like
never
that.
thought of it as an anchor.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
It's perfect. It's to remind you of that intention, that commitment that you're making because it's inherent, not an obligation. Not somebody told you or shamed you, hey, you screwed up and now you're not allowed to drink anymore or else.
right.
It's this is the choice that I made because I know it was the right choice for me because it is the way and the means to get where I want to grow.
To be the man that I always wanted to be.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So it means a lot to me. And I'm like, nope, not doing a podcast without it.
I love it.
I last year moved from having. I'd spent a lot of time, most of my adult life, being in the after I sobered up from my years of drug abuse. To I'm alone. It's fine. I got it sorted out. I'll be alone. Learned in the last 5 years, like, no, having other men to lean on has been very important. Last year, it occurred to me, like, I have completely cut women out, and the women in my life are not providing any sort of support in the way that I believe that they should. So I switched to, now I have a female coach, and now I have a female goal setting coach, and now I have a female marketing coach, and so everyone right now is female, and it very obviously has been wildly eye-opening to have that completely different perspective. And see how other people are perceiving me and how I am showing up in those connections it's been I think without the previous work in the men's groups and in the men's spaces, I don't think I would have been ready for it. I don't think that I was, I don't say mature enough, but I can't think of a better word in the moment. However, switching into that space has been I think for me has been monumentally impactful on my development in the way that I choose to communicate and connect with people. And you're talking about vulnerability earlier, like these kinds of things, like these are spaces where we were talking yesterday with a guest that we were recording with about toxic masculinity. And Eddie had made the point that there's no such thing as toxic masculinity because if it's toxic, it's not masculine. Right. And a big piece to that for me is the ability to be vulnerable and be able to communicate in that vulnerability. How vulnerable I am with Eddie or you or a stranger or someone who's close to me, it's mine to gauge. And having women as my lead the last 7-8 months has been an interesting new barometer on how I navigate those particular relationship connections.
Wow, that's amazing. I could see that. The integration is so different, having that polarity and really realizing what is boundaries and what were walls. And if you can tear down walls, but really set and reinforce healthy boundaries, you can be vulnerable and authentic anywhere because you're creating the container with which you can express yourself freely, right, with the parameters that you've decided are healthy for you. Yeah.
And for me, I've seen that there's a different kind of vulnerability. There's a different kind of vulnerability that men have. I've seen this, and I've done a lot of work in men's spaces, men's leadership, with a multitude of different organizations and tribes and groups and stuff like that. There is a different sense of being as a man when you're with other men, when you're with your brothers. And I'm not saying that it's better. I'm not saying that it's worse. I'm saying it's different. I can go into the woods with 10 men and bond with them in a way that I would never be able to bond with 10 women. I can hang out with a man and have a conversation with him that I wouldn't dare have with a woman. And yet there's also conversations that I can have with women that I wouldn't have with a man. And I think it's healthy to be able to express all of those different ways and get those different things out. And there is definitely room, and I'm not even going to call it a niche, a need for the type of work that you do comparative to brotherhood in a tribe and stuff like that. Because, there's things that if I told you what we did, you'd be like, you what? And I'm like, hey, that's brotherhood. That's masculinity.
Very different than what I do, right?
Yeah.
And I think you're right. Both are necessary and both are really healthy. There's an Eastern philosophy that says men are ice and women are fire. And so if you are a man raising boys, you need to remove them from the women in order to show them how to be men. Or conversely, when women are around other women and it gets really heated, you bring a man into the mix and it sort of cools the temperature.
Right.
Now, these are very traditional, old school, roles that we're talking about here. But if you can zoom out a little bit and just get the overall arching message between the masculine and the feminine, that it's really about a balance, and that balance exists within us, right? That fire is within us and that ice is within us, both of us, as men and as women. And what I find in my work is when I work with women, it's often in a group. Women want a sisterhood. They want connection. They want friendship. They want that group therapy.
Yeah.
And men with me want one-on-one. And that's what makes it really effective, really intimate. And I'll tell you, there's nothing more powerful than when a man is activating, when they are willing to be reflective and to see themselves and to really make and take the next move in order to do something different, become more conscious, become more aware, learn some new models, learn some new structures, and really start integrating another level of awareness allows them to really be empowered to be very powerful men, because there is nothing more powerful than a man on purpose.
Agreed.
Right? That whole, a man who lacks purpose seeks pleasure. So when we talk about the just leaky, I call it leaky energy. When you're just leaking your energy all over the place, it's because you're trying to find something to fulfill you, but you keep putting holes in your boat. And then you're wondering why your boat's sinking. So there's a lot of really intentional work that I can do with a man one-on-one that he wouldn't do in a group setting with other men. And I think that's beautiful. And I also think it's necessary for men to have a brotherhood.
Yeah.
And to have that, camaraderie. And that is not my forte,
Right.
And there's no, that's what makes it so beautiful. And it's about figuring out what you need. And as soon as you know what you need, then you can go to the right resource to get it, right? When you were talking about the women that you're working with right now as mentors or coaches, they are offering another kind of energy with you. You know, they're providing that polarity with you in a way that if you had a male coach that you wouldn't. And it's not taking away from the brotherhood, it's just adding another element, another depth, you know, another lifeline to, you know, what it is that you're working on building.
Agreed. As is my experience. Absolutely.
That's beautiful.
I'm sure you've probably heard people talking about peptides. It piqued your interest, you looked into it, but you don't know what source to trust. A lot of this stuff is coming out of China. If you're looking for a good quality peptide that's made in the United States, go to helixpure.com.